welcome to Life Talk. I'm Mark Crutcher, your genial host, and I'm joined by the usual suspects. And I'm going to introduce the usual suspects in a little different order this time because Ernie always seems to get shorted on this deal. Anyway, the first usual suspect is Ernie, the frilled-necked Republican, here on the desk in front of me. The other usual suspects are my daughter Sheila.
Hi.
And my assistant Renee.
And I would say that Ernie right now has been working overtime with what's going on.
In the Republicans,
Yeah,
they keep
and
winging out on everything.
in politics, yeah.
Yep. We've got a lot of stuff to get to today. One of the things after the robots break, we're going to have a video for you that just reaffirms something that I have said since day one, and that is there's nothing the pro-aborts don't know about abortion that we do know. They know everything we know. They know everything we know about the unborn child. They just don't care. That's the only difference between the pro-lifers and the pro-aborts. Is we all know the same things. They just don't care. And we've got a video that you need to watch, and we're going to show you after robots.
And I would even say that they should know even more because they're the ones that are doing the killing of the babies.
They do know more.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Anyway, I want to comment first before, I know y'all got some stuff you need to get to, about the situation in El Paso and in Dayton, Ohio. Obviously, this is a horrific situation. And of course, the godless left, the Democrats, wasted no time. I mean, half these people were still in the hospital, some of them dying, when the Democrats are out on television calling for gun control.
And blaming Trump.
And blaming Trump. And that's the thing I want to talk about here. They're out here saying that Trump's rhetoric is what led to this. Let me tell you what led to it. It's a lack of respect for human life.
That's right.
And that was created January 22nd, 1973. We ratcheted that up exponentially. We have killed over 60 million babies so far. And everybody knows they're babies. And again, we're going to have a video after the robots that's going to absolutely prove that to you without any doubt. They all know they're babies. We've killed 60 million of them. But the Beto O'Rourke's and the Kamala Harris's and all these degenerates on the pro-abortion side now, Booker and all the rest of them, and Biden, are out here saying that Trump is responsible for this.
And they are, yeah. And they're doing their fair share of trotting out racism too.
Now, but if you confronted those same people and said, are you going to tell me then Trump's words created this, but 60 million dead babies were totally unrelated to it, they'd go berserk.
Well, and also during Obama, stuff like this happened. And just as you said yesterday on your Facebook video post, it's not what's in the hands of people, it's what's in the hearts.
Right.
It's what's in people's hearts.
Yeah, you'll never end this by controlling what's in people's hands as long as this is in their hearts.
Well, yeah, I mean, because 9/11 wasn't because of guns; it was because of an airplane.
Right.
I mean, it's all what is in the person's heart.
Well, first off, let's just say that all these people that are doing these mass shootings, let's say you got to them and you took away their guns, but it's still in their hearts to kill people. They can do it with their car.
Well, and like in the UK, stabbing streaks are happening.
Right,
So,
and now they're talking about knife control
Yeah.
in Europe. And
it's a godless generation is what's going on, and we have taken God out of almost everything that's going on in our nation, and
you know
this
what's
is the
interesting
result.
is you now have, the Barna research is showing, you have people in churches that are saying you don't have to believe in the divinity of Christ in order to be a Christian. So you know what we're doing? We've taken God out of the schools. We've taken him out of the public square. We've taken him out of politics. Now we're taking him out of the church.
And he's been watered down
Right.
over generation after generation, and parents explaining the word of God to their children and not knowing it, the full word of God, and it's just being so watered down.
We're living in an age of incredible deception in this country.
Yes, we are.
And again, this is exposing, and I want to, this is kind of a political point, but everybody is saying that the Democratic Party is moving far to the left. That's nonsense. They're exactly where they've always been. It's just this new crap of Marxist, godless degenerates are exposing it.
Yeah.
You know, the only difference between let's say, Barack Obama and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or any of the other squad or any of these other degenerates that are out there. The only difference is they're honest and Obama wasn't.
Well, and she's not smart enough to keep her mouth shut. And you've got the Nancy Pelosi's that are wanting to strangle her because she won't keep her mouth shut. And so,
But Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama believe exactly the same things, and their agenda is exactly the same
Right.
as AOC or any of these other people.
Yeah.
It's just that, like you say, they don't have enough sense to keep their mouth shut. And Obama and Biden and Pelosi do.
right.
That's
Well,
the
because
only
they're
distinction.
the old school. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not the millennials or,
But their agenda is the same.
yeah.
And when we're going to be starting a podcast here with me, not too very long from now.
Good.
And
Exciting stuff.
I showed you some notes from a subject that we're going to be talking about that reinforces this argument
Right.
about how far toward the Marxist position we have gone in the last 50 or 60 years. And it is scary.
Oh, it is so scary. Oh, my gosh.
I showed you that
Yes.
that thing that was introduced in Congress in
Yeah.
1963.
Yeah.
And it predicted, it was saying these are what the communists say they're going to do.
Right.
They've done 90% of them.
Prophetic. Yeah. It is. It's there. We are there.
It's scary.
Yeah.
But anyway, again, as long as what's in people's hearts is murder, you can do it. I could go to Dallas right now with my Ram truck, and I could kill 50 people with that truck before the police could stop me.
Right.
If that was in my heart to do, and I didn't have a gun, which I don't have a gun, and everybody can come on here and say, well, you're just defending the right to own guns, and you're from Texas, or you're a gun nut. As y'all know, I don't own any guns.
Right.
You've never shot a gun.
I've never even shot a gun. You've shot guns, and you've shot guns. I've never shot a gun in my life. I've never owned a gun. I don't have any now. I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment, but that's not what this is about. This is about what's in people's hearts.
Right.
And it's the lack of respect for life.
Right.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting that there was a Supreme Court justice one time who opposed a death penalty measure. And his quote was that supporting the death penalty or allowing the death penalty in America can do nothing more than diminish our respect for human life. Now, as all three of us are opposed to the death penalty, I think we'd all agree with that, right? That justice's name was Harry Blackmun. And less than a year after he made that statement, he wrote Roe versus Wade. That shows you the incredible hypocrisy of the godless left, and he was a member of it. And I'm telling you, I've said this before, I don't care what anybody says, it's a fact. Harry Blackmun, on the scale of evil, Harry Blackmun makes Adolf Hitler look like a piker. This guy was unbelievable. At least, I think we could all agree that at least what Hitler did, he was pure evil just to the core. But at least he believed he was doing right.
Yeah,
These people know they're not.
I mean, he was open and honest about it.
Yeah. He wrote a book, Mein Kampf, telling exactly what he believed, exactly what he was going to do.
He was open about,
Right.
wanting to eliminate different races.
Right. And the first ones he went after were blacks. And that's one of the things we brought up in MAFA that most people don't know. But anyway, again, we can just get ready for this to continue to happen.
Right.
As long as we have no respect for human life. This
Right.
is going to happen.
Yeah.
Just
Absolutely.
don't be surprised at it. Anyway,
Yep.
you guys had a couple of things you wanted
I
to
do.
bring
I
up.
have a couple of stories. Talk about people trying to soften the pro-abortion side, their message. For years they've done this. They have worn shirts that said "Shout my abortion" or
I had an abortion.
I had an abortion,
Right.
or they're wanting to take rare out of safe, legal, and rare because
Right.
it's not rare,
And they don't care if it's rare.
and they don't, and so they're doing everything that they can to try to soften the pro-abortion side. And there was an email that was sent out from a deputy field director, Travis Bowley, with NARAL, and how to soften the pro-abortion message. And it says, "Do not write or say abortion should be safe." Or abortion is safe and legal. Do not write abortion is healthcare. Do not write abortion is normal, and do not write abortion rights are human rights. They're wanting it to, in other words, they're wanting to leave out the decision to kill another human being is that the woman's own right to do that.
They're calling it health care.
They're-
Women's freedom.
Yeah.
They're trying to destigmatize abortion.
Yes.
But at the same time, they're trying to make the issue not seem to be about abortion, but rather just regular old women's health care.
Right.
Women's
Yeah.
freedom.
Yeah. Women need the freedom to make the best decision for their circumstances.
You know,
so.
it is a perversion of liberty and a perversion of freedom to say that someone, in this case women, but to say that women must have the ability to kill their own children in order to be free.
Right.
That's a total perversion
Right.
of the word freedom or the word liberty
Yes,
or
it is.
rights or whatever.
If that was the case, then we have the freedom to again own slaves, or we have the freedom to just go around killing anybody we want. If that's what freedom really is, which it's not, but
Freedom means the ability to do whatever you want to do, just whatever you
Yeah.
want. Anyway, would you have a couple of things too, Sheila, I think?
yeah. So while we have abortion as being legal, there are other countries that are trying to make abortion legal.
Like Ireland just did.
Yes, like Ireland.
Cuba, yeah.
Yeah, but New Zealand, Justice Minister Andrew Little has introduced a bill that they're going to go over in Parliament on Thursday to change abortion from a criminal issue to a health issue. Abortions are currently only legal in New Zealand in cases of fetal abnormality, incest, or if the mother's life is in danger. He said that safe abortion should be treated and regulated as a health issue. A woman has the right to choose what happens to her body.
Okay, I want to challenge this guy. He won't be seeing this, and he wouldn't respond to it. But if some pro-aborts out there watching this, we'd be happy to have you respond. If abortion is health care, are women healthier after an abortion than before?
Absolutely not.
What malady is cured by an abortion? It can't be health care if a woman's not healthier afterwards than before.
The abortionists would say, women are healthier because they got rid of the parasite.
Right,
That's what
parasite.
that's what they consider unborn babies.
And the thing is with that, any woman can go to the doctor and tell them that they've got a mental illness or that this child is bringing danger to their life and have this child executed in their womb and get away with it. At any point,
Right.
even after 20 weeks.
Yeah, it's disgraceful, but these people get away with this, and the reason they get away with it is very simple.
Because we don't.
The media won't hold their feet to the fire.
Yeah.
It is absolutely no difference, and I would again challenge some pro-abort wants to call in here. We'll put them on the air. Abortion is no more health care than suicide is. Mm-hmm. Suicide is a health. If you want to call abortion health care, then you can call suicide health care. Mm-hmm. It is preposterous. But I challenge anybody to call in and tell me what malady it is that a woman who's pregnant suffers from that she won't suffer from once she's killed her baby.
Well, on that note, real quick, Leanne Wen was fired because she wasn't pro-abortion enough. She didn't push abortion enough onto people. And this new president is, and she doesn't
Talking
care
about Planned Parenthood.
about Planned Parenthood's president, Alexis McGill Johnson, and she doesn't care about health care. She doesn't care about any breast cancer, which they don't do, by the way, or any STDs, anything like that. She cares only about abortion.
Well, they say that the former president, they say that they gave that reason why she was fired. But the truth is, she was probably fired, because she came out and said that Planned Parenthood is about abortion.
Right.
People forget that she said that. Well, she said that, and a few months later, she's fired.
Well, you got to remember something. This woman is a radical pro-abort.
Right.
But she wasn't radical enough.
Yes.
That's the bottom line
right.
point right here.
Right.
And again, if I were in the media, I'd hold the Planned Parenthood's feet to the fire. You come out here one day and you say abortion's not a big deal. It's only 3% of what we do. All right. But then this woman was asked if you could increase your health services to women by giving up abortion, would you do it? Right. And she said no. Well, if it's only 3% of your business,
Right, then why is it that big of a deal?
and if there are other people out there that are going to do abortion, so the woman who's got to have an abortion for her health
Right.
can have one,
Right.
why would you say we will sacrifice 97% of the women that we treat in order to do abortions?
Well, and they don't do other healthcare services. They may hand out condoms or do some
Well, they do some STD treatment.
yeah,
and they
or
do-
some twisted so-called sex education, but they don't do mammograms. They refer refer for mammograms.
Right.
They don't care about women.
They don't.
No, they don't.
And but the media is, of course, we know the reason why. The media is on their side. They're never going to hold their feet to the fire on all this stuff. But somebody needs to ask them, why would you sacrifice 97% of your clients
Right.
just so you can do abortions?
And why do
would
they
you
throw
that?
a fit because the Title 10 funds are not going to them?
Right. It's
it's just
unbelievable.
Well, while the media isn't holding the feet to the fire of Planned Parenthood, the UN and other countries aren't holding North Korea's feet to the fire when it comes to forced abortions. A new report that came out talking about forced abortions in North Korea, China is complicit in this. Women who flee to China think that they're going to be free and not have to have an abortion are sent back by Chinese officials to North Korea, and women have to have forced abortions. The UN knows about this problem. They say, oh, this is a human tragedy, but they aren't doing anything about it.
And they're not going to.
No, women are in these prison camps. The way that they have forced abortions is without anesthesia. Women are laid on the ground with a big board put on their belly, and men rock back and forth on the board. They have hot pokers applied to their stomach and inside of them. And also what's really sad is that if a woman hides the pregnancy and wants to keep the baby, punishment is swift and heinous. If she is discovered, she will be killed as well as the baby. The woman is often tied to a tree. The baby is cut out of her stomach, shown the child before the baby's throat is slit, and then she is executed and left to bleed to death.
These pro-aborts are often say, any government that can tell a woman she can't have an abortion can tell her she has to have one. They're lying through their teeth again. The fact is, the only countries where women are forced to have abortions are countries where abortion is legal. And the United States is a good example of this. I challenge anyone, again, if you're a pro-abort and you can prove me wrong, come on the show. We'll be happy to have you on. Name me a activity that was ever made illegal in the United States, which the federal government then came along and said, oh, but you've got to do it. We're going to force you to engage in that activity that we just made illegal. It doesn't happen. It's nonsense. But what we do know, and what we proved, you and I wrote a report on this, women are being forced at the point of a gun and at knives at their throats right here in America today to have abortions. They're being killed. We've got about it on our website.
They're being beaten,
Beaten,
slashed, whatever,
Right.
buried in a grave, alive,
Right.
because she won't abort a child.
And
we
just
have
had a new
all
case
of these
it.
stories.
We just had a new case in the last week or so of a woman that was a girl,
yes.
21-year-old girl at Mississippi, University of Mississippi, that was butchered by her boyfriend, shot 8 times, once in the head, because she refused to have an abortion. The abortion industry knows this is going on. It's easy to screen for an abortion in an abortion clinic, and they do not do it. They don't care.
It's happening by individuals to pregnant women in the United States, and then in countries like North Korea and China, the government itself is doing it. And so for all these abortion advocates that say, oh, we want the government to provide abortions for women for free, well, if that happens, we're eventually going to get to a point like in North Korea and China where the government itself is forcing women to have
we've
abortions.
already had people, and we put quotes of this out in a previous report that we had done, and I think in line 5 we even talked about it. Pro-aborts are actively saying, there are pro-abortion people in this country who are saying that women who can't afford a child or have a child with Down syndrome have a responsibility to abort. It's legal. they don't have the right. I remember one of the quotes we found, some pro-abortion attorney saying, they do not have the right, women, meaning women, do not have the right to have a baby that they can't pay for, or a baby that has severe physical problems like Down syndrome, which is not that severe, but has Down syndrome. They don't have a right to force those babies on the rest of us.
Yeah.
And if you say that, what you're saying is somebody needs to force them to have an abortion.
The government.
And if they're on welfare, we're going to force them to have abortions.
Yeah.
And if you think that wouldn't happen in America, go watch my Alpha 21. We had situations in there where black women were forced to have abortions, or else they would lose their welfare benefits
And even be sterilized.
and be sterilized.
Yeah, and to go even a step further, now that that's all going on, there's assisted suicide going on all over the United States now
Right.
that has been legalized. I mean, it's just...
We've got to get a hold of this, and it all starts, and all this other stuff that you're talking about, gun control and all these other peripheral things, will never stop it until you deal with the core problem, lack of respect for human life.
Yes.
That's where we are.
That's right.
If you're going to ignore that, then you're ignoring the whole problem.
Yeah.
When we come back, we're going to have a really good video that'll make some of the points that we've been making here. But anyway, now it's time for robots.
In 1973, the U.S. Supreme Court legalized abortion nationwide. The decision is called Roe versus Wade, and those who defend it are known as robots. This is how they think.
Why do the same people who oppose abortion always fight against sex education and birth control that would reduce unplanned pregnancies?
The pro-life movement has never been opposed to sex education. What we are opposed to are the failed sex education programs pushed by organizations like Planned Parenthood. In the 1960s, these people introduced value-neutral, contraception-based sex education into the schools. Their sales pitch was that the way to reduce teen pregnancy was to isolate morality from sex and teach kids the mechanics of having sexual relationships without getting pregnant. In other words, their approach was not value-neutral. It simply replaced traditional American values with Planned Parenthood values. Of course, when kids are told by adults that they are conditioned to respect that sex is morally neutral, the guaranteed result is an increase in the rate at which they are sexually active. And that is exactly what happened. After America's public schools began introducing value-neutral, contraception-based sex education, the relatively small teen pregnancy problem that existed at the time exploded into an epidemic of promiscuity, teen pregnancy, abortion, and sexually transmitted diseases. Additionally, children are now having sex at much younger ages. 50 years ago, for a 12-year-old girl to be pregnant would have been front-page news. Today, it's not even noteworthy. The real question is why organizations like Planned Parenthood continue to push value-neutral, contraception-based sex education despite its well-documented failures. The answer is that for them, it hasn't failed. To the contrary, it has kept their cash registers ringing by providing a reliable stream of customers for their birth control pills, abortions, and STD treatments. The fact is, allowing these amoral hustlers from the reproductive health care industry to teach children about sex is like hiring crack dealers to teach them about drugs. All right. As I said earlier, we have often stated on here that there's nothing about the unborn child or about abortion that we know that the pro-abortion side doesn't know. They have all the information that we have, 100%. And like you're saying, they know it better than we do. They're the ones killing these babies.
Yeah, they're the ones that deal with the dead babies on a
Right.
daily basis.
They know what they're doing. The difference, the sole difference between the pro-abortion side and the pro-life side is we care about that and they don't care about it. That's the only difference. Everybody here knows they're killing babies. Well, one of the most notorious abortionists in the country, and I'm sure he's not going to be happy once the pro-aborts know how some of the things that he said, because he's saying everything he's saying is outing them as liars, his own people as liars. When they, it's just a parasite or it's just a clump of cells or whatever. This is Leroy Carhart, a real infamous abortionist, if you will. He's not only killed Lord knows how many babies, but the damage he's inflicted on women has been unbelievable, and he keeps on getting away with it because the media will not expose him.
Right.
If he were a vet, and he had the same track record with dogs and cats,
He would no longer be in practice.
he'd be in prison.
He'd be in prison.
You talk about the media not exposing him. They celebrate him.
Right.
There have been articles after articles, videos from media outlets that praised Carhart,
Right.
along with like abortion advocates and organizations.
I tell you what, let's do. Let's take out a few seconds here and watch this video. It's pretty amazing.
To the fetus, it makes no difference whether it's born or not born. The baby has no input in this as far as I'm concerned.
But it's interesting that you use the word baby because a lot of abortionists won't use that.
Oh,
They'll use the word fetus because they don't want to acknowledge that there's,
I
a
use them,
life.
so I think that it is a baby, and I use it with the patients.
And you don't have a problem with
Absolutely
killing a baby.
I have no problem if it's in the mother's uterus.
I mean, what's left to say?
Well, to give
He's a monster.
to give context, that was with a BBC reporter. She watched abortions being performed. She was in the during the operation. She sat there watching an abortion being performed. She was visibly shaking. Afterwards, she left the room and was just.
Yeah. Well,
She was like, I can't, and then she sat down and interviewed him. So
this animal, he is admitting everything that we accuse the pro-aborts of believing, and they lie about it, and we know they've been lying about it, and he's just being more honest about it.
the difference for him is location of the
Location
baby.
is all. That's what it is for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, he said because it's in the mother's uterus, it's fine. Well, number one, he admitted that the fetus is a baby. Number two, he used the word mother. So yes, the pregnant lady is still a mother, whether or not she gets rid of her child.
Whether she's a mother of a dead baby or a live baby.
And he does late-term abortions, and he doesn't say how late the late-term abortion is. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if he killed a baby out of utero here.
He says he would. He said he would be happy to perform any abortion if the mother tells him, quote, it would destroy her life if she has to carry the baby to term, unquote.
I mean,
So there is no limit.
yeah,
But he's no different than the people we've dealt with, the people we dealt with down in Houston.
yeah, Carpin, Douglas Carpin, and
Yeah, I want to encourage our audience, again, if you have not seen it, go to YouTube and punch in under the search engine Babies Born Alive Daily and watch that interview we did with those 3 abortion clinic employees down there where they're talking about babies being born alive every day, and the abortionist twisting their heads off or pushing his thumb down through the soft spot of their head and killing them.
It's on our Life Dynamics YouTube page.
Life Dynamics YouTube page. But that video has had almost 1 million hits now.
Yeah.
Well,
It's had over 1 million.
Yeah.
yeah, but YouTube keeps on bumping the numbers down.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. These animals, monsters, villains, they know no limits. They have absolutely no limits. It doesn't matter. If you're going to kill a 6-week-old child, you're going to kill a late term, a 37-week. It's the same difference
Or
here.
one that's born.
Or one that's born.
And because he says it makes no difference to the baby whether it's born or not born.
Yeah.
So what and really he's being honest, because there is no difference between a late term baby and a born baby. There's no difference between an early term baby and a born baby. That's
right.
So what he's saying is that it's strictly about location. That's the only difference, and that's what we've always said. Now I want to read. We're out of time, but I want to read something he said. He told a group of medical students that he is doing, quote, God's work,
Yeah.
unquote, by doing abortion.
Sure, God's real proud of him.
Let me tell you something. Come judgment, none of us can brag about what we're going to face on judgment because we're all going to have to answer.
Right.
I think he's going to find God has a different opinion about whether he was doing God's work. If God needs these babies dead, God can take care of that.
Yeah, he's more than capable of doing that.
He doesn't need Leroy Carhart ripping them to shreds. This guy's an animal. I don't care what anybody says. He's a complete, and I hate to say that because I love animals.
Yeah.
And I hate to,
Yeah.
Have our dogs and cats that are here in the office
Compared to.
lumped in with this guy. But in the vernacular of animals that are human beings, this guy's an animal.
I mean, animals even have more respect for life. For instance, the other day on Facebook, I saw a video of this woman dumping, this was in a different country, but this woman dumped her newborn baby in a ditch. Well, she fled, and stray street dogs knew something was wrong. They went up to this baby and saw this baby, and they knew instinctively that something was wrong. And they started barking and trying to get people's attention. And finally, someone paid attention to them, and the baby survived. Because these dogs had the instinct to know that this wasn't right.
This show has been pretty much a downer because everything's been pretty negative. I want to leave with before we go, with a little happier story, one that y'all know about. And I have, in prayer, I've thanked God for putting me in this position. Sunday we were out riding around. No, it's Saturday night, wasn't it? Yeah. We were out riding around in the country, and we were coming from the lake here in Denton, north of Denton. And we were just driving down this country road, and my wife said, "I think that little goat back there was stuck in the fence." And I didn't even see it. It was a little bit off the road. So I turned around and went back, and sure enough, there's this little baby goat. He's brown, he's real furry, and man, he is wailing. And he is hollering, and he had gotten his head stuck through these little squares in this wire fence. He'd gotten his head put through there, and then his little horns were about 3 or 4 inches long. He couldn't get himself out, and he was hollering. So I went up to the house and knocked on the door and tell these people their goat was out here. And there was a whole bunch of, these people raise goats, and there was a whole bunch of other ones. And there was nobody home. So I went out there and tried to pull him out and couldn't get him out so I finally had to put my hand underneath his throat because when you push down on him, it was hurting him on that wire. So I put my hand underneath his throat and then pushed down on the top of his head and then tried to push him and finally got him out. And he stood there and looked at me for about 5 or 10 seconds. And this mother, I guess, because she was down there with a bunch of other goats, she came flying up there when she heard the goat hollering. And they both just kind of stood there and looked at me for about 10 seconds, and then they took off running. And I didn't know
I said, you saved them.
I didn't know goats could run that fast. But this little goat, he wasn't about this tall, and he was brown, but he took off running, and he could fly.
I mean, there's no telling how long he would have been in that situation. He could have died.
And I think they stood there looking at you because they were like, "Hey, thank you."
Yeah, you think that's what happened?
Yeah, they were, because I mean, you would think that he would just take off right away, but
You would think so. But it was pretty funny,
Yeah.
and I was appreciative that God let me be in that position where I could help that little
Yeah.
goat.
hopefully he doesn't try to think that the grass is greener on the other side
and
again.
he won't try that again.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
Hopefully he's learned his lesson.
Real quick, I know that you said our show is
Right.
kind of a downer, but we do have people that like it and appreciate it. And like Isabel Spencer said that we have great information and she loves Life Talk, which is pretty cool. So
Thank you for the good comments.
yes,
Yes,
we
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Anyway, if you've got anything you would like to see covered on Life Talk, ideas for a show, let Renee know. She's the gargoyle. She keeps the information, and if we use your information on the show, we'll send you a mug. Sometimes we'll send you a mug even if we don't use the information.
There it
on the
is.
show. There she is.
There's
And
the
plus,
mug.
this is really nice to have because fall is coming up in a few months, and so
Yep.
that would be nice for a nice cup of coffee or hot chocolate
Absolutely.
on a
We'd be
breezy
happy to
fall
send you
day.
one. Anyway, that's all the time we have. We didn't even get to all the stuff. We'll have to cover it next week, I guess. But anyway, that's all the time we have until next Tuesday. Remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how this killing will stop. We'll see you next week.